on my journeys on looking for a true artist who puts effort, but at the same time looks like he puts absolutely no effort whatsoever, I found one that stuck out. In a world when a plain canvas with a single straight line, maybe sometimes two, is considered true art, I found one artist who used a plain canvas and, made it look like $1 million. I'm of course talking about Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock was born in January 28th, 1912, in Cody, Wyoming, where he and his five siblings traveled throughout the entire Southwest. Now, young Jackson Pollock had an affinity for art, and he and his brother Charles Pollock moved to New York in the 1930s for the Art Students League and began to study art there. There, Pollock decided to learn his techniques, and he started making the art that we all know today. Now, what makes Jackson Pollock so interesting is that he makes an original piece that looks really well, but then he decides to splatter paint all over it. And in my quest to make enough money to pay for college, I've decided to make my own Jackson Pollock. Now, Jackson Pollock pieces sell for roughly, and this is an estimate, the highest was $200 million, but the average original Jackson Pollock piece goes for roughly $160 million. Now, I believe that I should set the bar a little bit lower to $120,000, just enough to pay for college. And you know what? I'm just going to start working for one. So let's go. Now, so while I get the supplies and I start setting up for this piece, I will tell you exactly how a Jackson Pollock piece is made. He credits Native Americans for the sand painting, which is where you lay a piece down on the floor and you start to work on it. Whereas in sand painting it was dirt, and Native Americans would use sand and make figures out of them and make figures. And that's how Jackson Pollock decided to use the technique where he would place the canvas on the floor and then he would start painting. I prefer to call it splattering, but a lot of people call it painting. And he would splatter the paint on it. A drip technique is what it's called, and that's how he would make it. Now, Pollock used a variety of tools to place the paint on the canvas. He would use sticks, turkey basters, and some paintbrushes that had the horsehair end glued, so they really weren't practical anymore. And he used those as fancy sticks, and he would splatter the paint on the canvas. His paint of choice wasn't like acrylic or oil painting. He preferred to use paints that you would find around the house, like some really thin paint that people would use to paint walls in the house. He believed that this was a form of like expressionism of modern day Americans. I don't know exactly why. I didn't read deeper into it. He is an artist. He makes his own work. He does as he chooses. So I decided to do that. I was able to raid my father's supply closet and I looked for paint in it, amongst other interesting things. I placed it outside and I placed my small canvas down. I wasn't able to get a 8x12 canvas like Jackson Pollock usually would, or 8x20, as he was a fan of very large pieces. This was what I had to do, this little square thing. And with that, I decided to open up the paint. I found a couple of objects to splatter the paint of, and no turkey basters. My mom would probably kill me if I used that. And I started to just splatter the paint on the canvas. Now watch and enjoy the process of an original Pollock being made. So I just finished painting my own Jackson Pollock, and I gotta say, when I was painting, I truly understood what he meant by controlled chaos. I was placing things down with the paintbrush, with the spoons I was using, and I could place the paint where I wanted to, but the paint went wherever it wanted to go. And I've got to say, I truly understand that. And in honor of Jackson Pollock, I'm going to be naming this piece. Fun fact: Jackson Pollock didn't really name his pieces; he numbered them. At first, he did name them, but his later work, he would give them numbers. For example, number 5 is my personal favorite piece by Jackson Pollock. I'll show you. I'll put a picture of that, and I'm going to name my piece 1956, which was the year that Pollock died. Now, sadly, throughout Pollock's life, he had a continued battle with alcoholism, and then one day on August 11th, 1956, Jackson Pollock was just driving. He was also cheating on his wife at the time, unfortunately, and he was driving. This lady he was cheating on, that he was with, was in the passenger seat, and somebody else was in the back, presumably another lady. And the convertible crashed like 2 miles away from their house. And when he was driving back, he was under the influence of alcohol, and he died. The lady died, but the third passenger survived. And that was on August 11th, 1956. Now, I hope that this piece that I made will be able to sell. Of course, I need to pay for college. And if anybody would like to drop $120,000 on it, that would be greatly appreciated. I will leave a link. I will leave an email down in the description where you can email me for any serious inquiries. I hope you have a nice day, and stay Pollockian.